Welcome in to another edition of the Fantasy Football Power Hour presented by the SBFFC on the TN2M network of shows here on YouTube. I'm your host, Seth Birch at the Phoenix Rocket, joined alongside my partners in crime every Friday night, or at least most Friday nights, Chuck Ellis and the good doctor, the commissioner, the founder of the SBFFC, Dr. Brian Harwood. Gentlemen, how's it going tonight?
Really good, sir. Good evening, gentlemen.
See, Wes, I'm really good now. It's been a hard week at school, man, and glad to be on the show tonight. Glad to.
I think every week right now schools are hard, and we've got 2 days next week.
We got 2 days too.
Speaking of, before we get into the football, if I may, for just a second, guys, last week. On Friday night, we had our show on Tuesday. We did a Veterans Day edition, and thanks to our veterans today and always. Last Friday night, I had the opportunity to step back into the wrestling ring for the first time in over a year. I did it in the school I teach in front of a lot of my students, my players, former students, former players, probably about 250 people there. And it was very overwhelming and incredible and amazing. And I mostly want to thank you guys for allowing me to take that night off so that I could do something else kind of cool. I had a blast, was overwhelmed by the support. And I was kind of I guess I was the draw that night, which is not always the case. So it was a really cool moment for me.
The meal ticket.
That is very awesome, sir.
Yeah, well, and it went so well. I think there's going to be more events in the area in the coming future. So really excited about that. I tell you what, though, wrestling ring shape is different. It's just different. It hits different, too. I'm still recovering. My arm is all bruised up from a few things that happened, but anyways, I'll digress on that. I just wanted to thank you guys and just shout out how the awesome community that I work in Scottsville, Kentucky was and supporting me. So I was very, very excited about that. But we had what was one of the more surprising games last night. I felt like. In the Texans-Bills, the Texans coming up with a win last night. And guys, I was not heavily invested in the game. One of my opponents had some stock in the game, but in terms of just going into it, I thought this is going to be a boring game. The Bills are going to take care of business. It's not going to be a problem. I didn't even really watch a whole lot of it. I ended up watching more highlights after the fact as I saw that it was getting interesting. But, Chuck, not a game I thought was going to go the way that it did. Not particularly a ton of fantasy value, but just in general was, to me, very surprising.
Yeah, I mean, all of a sudden, the Houston Texans are for real. That defense is nothing short of stellar. Their front four, when you can pressure a quarterback with the front four, man, it almost looks like you're playing with extra players out there because that front four was hitting Josh Allen. It seemed like on every other play, he was frustrated. That Texans team is here to stay, I believe. If those guys can score 20, 25 points every week, they're going to be a tough beat for anybody.
Well, and Dr. Harwood, I mean, is that part of a product of Josh Allen not really having a number one guy that he can depend on and rely on? I mean, James Cook had a good game. He typically does. But from the receiving core, I mean, Keon Coleman was a healthy scratch. He's a guy that is still sitting on rosters. Khalil Shakir is week on and week off. It feels like, is part of that pressure and that frustration for Josh Allen coming out, and part of it being the fact that he doesn't have a guy he can trust game in and game out when he has to make a play. And I feel like that clearly showed.
Well, we got Shakir last night. He had 118 receiving yards, but he had 4 by halftime.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to get the ball to him, but
last week I don't think he had a
He had like one catch.
Oh, did he?
He had like one catch, maybe two at the most. He
like one for -2 yards.
Yeah. But then Josh still had 50 fantasy points. So Dalton Kincaid, being out has hurt him, but
that's their true number one receiver.
I believe so too. And
I agree.
And me and Matt Krantz had Josh out on the Guillotine League. We do live at Overtime Sports Bar and Grill, and Matt wanted to drop Josh Allen, and I thought he was crazy. I was like, he was our first pick. We got to stay with the guy. Now I know why. I know why now, because he was all about Houston. He predicted Houston, Texas to win last night. I said, well, Matt, you can't drop a number one level quarterback in the Guillotine right now just to gamble. What we should have done in retrospect was pick up another quarterback to back him up and then make the decision whether or not to play him or not.
Yeah, guillotine leagues are difficult.
Have you done one yet, Seth?
I've never done one. I don't even fully understand the concept because I've never played one. I have a very loose comprehension of it, but I've just never played one. And it feels like something that would cause the rest of my hair to fall out. Like I would be joining the bald head club maybe if I did a guillotine league.
Well, that's what happened to Krantz. But we have 2 championships to our credit. I know Chuck. He's dabbling in the guillotine. I think his buddy Charlie's done one. I think it's something very different. All you got to do is avoid last place every week. That's all you got to do.
That's it. All you're doing is you have to beat the league median, and you're good to go.
Or just avoid last place.
Yeah.
Easier said than done for some of my teams this year. But I will say my main event team has won 7 in a row. A couple of weeks had no business winning, but I am now in the playoffs after an 0-4 start, and I am extremely happy about that.
What second place, weren't you?
No, third. I'm in third. But even if I lose this week, I think I'm still in the playoffs. Because I have the point lead on everybody that's kind of tied with me. So I think I'll be good.
Got to make sure everybody in that division sets that lineup this week. Make sure it's even key.
Yeah, listen, I'm looking. Which we'll talk about setting lineups and things like that, and including a very serious talk here in just a few minutes from Chuck. And I'm very interested in this week's serious talk because I know what's coming, and it's going to be great. We do encourage everybody that is tuning in, popping in and out, to comment, leave us start-sit questions. Probably done with trade questions, I would think. I know leagues that are still allowing trades, but we'll take all your start-sit questions. Plus a new segment we're going to add. I don't know that we have a name for it, but I'm just going to call it Ballin' with Fanball because we're going to give you some plays to give you a good base for Fanball lineups if you're someone that dabbles in daily fantasy. We're going to each give you 2 or 3 plays that we like to give you a good foundation. So that's something new that we're going to add this week, and we'll see how that goes. But it seems like something we can keep. And as always, we're going to take your stardom setting questions in the last segment. What, if anything, do we take long-term away from last night's game, Chuck?
I think is exactly what you were talking about. Some of that loss, I believe, has to go on the GM. You have ample time to surround arguably one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL with some talent, to give this guy some weapons. And the best you can come up with is a Josh Palmer, when there's plenty of free agent wide receivers floating around out there. You draft Keon Coleman last year. I believe he was a 2nd-round guy, and then he's a healthy scratch last night. You're not giving Josh Allen what he needs to be elite, because he is elite level talent. And now, the AFC is getting closer to you. San Diego's catching up to you. The Colts are catching up to you. just look at who you played last night: Houston, Jacksonville.
Yeah.
If you're not careful, these guys are going to pass you, and you got even Kansas City's on the outside looking in right now.
Don't forget Kansas City's lurking around.
Well, I mean, if the season ended today, they wouldn't be in. So,
oh wait, they out? Are they out as of today?
I believe if the season, I'd have to double check that. But
what I looked at last week, and maybe this past week has changed it, that they were in, but they just weren't the bye.
Yeah, I think they were. I think the ninth they were 5-5, maybe the ninth seed. I have to look at that. I don't want to give bad information
on my phone now.
But you know, all of these other teams are playing well. Even Denver. I don't know. I take last night that the Bills' offensive line looked shaky. They don't have anything to hang their hat on. I mean, Shakir's numbers was kind of inflated because I think he had one of those 45-yard end of the game prayers. So I think Buffalo's in trouble. I mean, I'm not saying they're not a playoff team, but I think they're in trouble. That's what I take from last night.
Correct. Kansas City 5-5. They're saying 9th.
Yep.
So they're just on the outside looking in. They're a team I wouldn't want to see in the playoffs, though. I mean, just because of how tested they are, Dr. Harwood. Kansas City is not a team that you want to see in the playoffs.
Well, are they another Buffalo Bills? Because the Buffalo Bills, they beat Kansas City a few weeks back. And Pat Mahomes doesn't have – he's got Rashee Rice, but I see a lot of Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes lately.
But at least he's got a go-to guy. Rashee Rice is a go-to guy. You know, Xavier Worthy, I think, could be that, although he's not been healthy all year. And I think that has played a part. Travis Kelce is what he is. He's an aging tight end that has good weeks left in him, but not consistently. Their biggest problem is kind of the opposite, I think, of Buffalo, is they don't have a run game. I mean, if they had a run game, they had one running back that was capable, they would be unstoppable right now, and certainly I don't think would be 5-5. Let's take a look at some of the things coming up this week. I'm pulling up my script for the show. This is great producing on the fly. I just want to let everybody know that.
Oh, my God.
For those that don't know, we talk through the week. We've got a text chain, and so Chuck is great about sending the rundown every week, and I try to follow it, except I forget to save it, so I'm scrolling through the text chain because we've already sent probably 50 other messages. So one of the things that we've got on the list for today, gentlemen, is players you have to win your championship. And as we are rolling forward and we're getting into playoffs, we're knocking on the door of the playoff season for fantasy football and SBFF. In the main event, playoffs start next week. For other leagues, there's still a couple of weeks left. But Dr. Harwood, who are some of the guys that you have to have in order to win your fantasy championship this year?
Well, I'm going to tell you what, guys. Jacoby Brissett and Trey McBride seem like they're going to be very, very good down the stretch on terms of schedule. And I think Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be very good down the stretch, too. You know, if you have a Rashad White or Emeka Ibuka, or maybe even a Baker Mayfield. It's all about the schedule going forward there.
Pretty much name my opponent's team this week. Thank you for that.
No, but we're not in the playoffs yet.
No, that's true. That's true.
So I don't like Tampa Bay really this week, but Bucky Irvin's going to be out another week.
If you're Tampa Bay, do you bring him back at all with the emergence of Murphy? I mean, if he's really hurt enough that he's missed this much time, do you bring him back? You've got Rashad White, you've got Murphy. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a great player. He is. But you also have to consider the future of the franchise. And I know fantasy owners won't want to hear it because you took Bucky Irving in the second round. Maybe he was in the late first in some leagues. But if you're the franchise, if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and you're being successful without him, do you bring him back at all?
I think this is a letdown week for Tampa. I said this to you guys earlier. Just the schedule in general. They had a brutal game in Buffalo, New York this past weekend, and now they have to travel clear across the country to play the Rams in LA. I don't have a really
Good
good
Rams,
feel.
by the way.
Yeah, a really good Rams team that's really good against the run. And, no Bucky Irvin. You got Rashad White, who just looks like an elephant in the mud trying to run between the tackles. Now, you do have a little flash now with Sean Tucker.
Did I say Tucker? Yeah, I meant Tucker. What Murphy?
That run, that long run he had last week, that was a thing of beauty. I just think this is a bad week for Tampa. It's a letdown game, and there will be better days to come for Tampa, I believe. But one of the guys I'm thinking about, for the guys that was smart enough to keep Joe Burrow on their roster, I think he's showing up just as the playoffs are starting. I seen some prop bets starting to pop up for him. So if Vegas at least thinks that Joe Burrow is playing this week, so we'll have to see. I think Joe Burrow's a guy I'd like to have going into the playoffs, and I said it last week. I think Derrick Henry is getting ready to get hot at the right time. So you have those guys. If you were lucky enough to have Rico Dowdle, those are the guys that could be league winners for you this year, I think.
I think one name that pops off the radar to me and has, because when I think about guys you have to win a championship, I'm not so much thinking about my first two rounds. I'm thinking about guys that maybe you got later, guys that you held on to, or you were smart and drafted, or you just drafted on a whim. And the guy that pops out to me is Javonte Williams. I mean, how good has that guy been this year? You took him maybe 8th round, probably 9th. He was not highly drafted, and he has been a division winner for a lot of guys, and could potentially be a league winner, because I don't see him slowing down. He has no competition there in Dallas in that backfield. It's his. He's looked good. So I think Javonte Williams is a guy that is a must-have, and if you look at rosters across leagues, he's probably going to be one of the highest rostered players on playoff teams, because he's a guy you didn't plan on being a every week starter that turned into an every week starter, and that, Dr. Harwood, is very invaluable when it comes to making that playoff run. Is having a guy that when you drafted him, you didn't plan on starting them every week, but doggone it, do you have to now because of how well they're playing?
Well, a lot of people overlooked Javonte Williams in a lot of leagues, and I was one of them, because we didn't know at the time back and do a lot of drafts if he was going to be the starting running back or not. But we were fortunate to get some shares of him, and he's been consistent. He hasn't had that explosive game in a while, but he's been very consistent. And Dallas has a good schedule going forward too. You can also add Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens, and even maybe Jake Ferguson to the list as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. That Dallas offense is very good, and in part because the defense is so bad, they're always playing from behind. So there's always going to be that offense stays on the field quite a bit. And I think that it's a situation where you could, any shares of that offense that you have, you can play with confidence every week. But I will say, going back to Javonte Williams, and you were talking about overlooking him, is this not a classic case of we're too smart for our own good sometimes, and we try to talk ourselves or talk up guys? Because going into the year, everybody was talking about Jaden Blue. It's Jaden Blue. Jaden Blue's the guy that you want out of that Dallas backfield. All the experts were saying it. We all bought into it. And he's a guy that was a healthy scratch for half of the season and hasn't had a ton of looks, in part because Javonte has played so well, but also I mean, if he's been a healthy scratch, there's something that's not right there. There's trouble in paradise there. But my point is, we overlooked him because we all had heard that Jaden Blue was the guy that you wanted. Chuck, is there a way to avoid stuff like that going into, future seasons? Because it feels like we fall into that trap every year with somebody. There's always the hot name, and everybody wants to be clever and say they were on that name and that they were on it. And it felt like one of those names this year was Jaden Blue, and that has been one of the biggest disappointments for people that drafted him, and for people that took Javonte Williams. He's somebody that they are profiting off of. I mean, quite literally are probably profiting off of.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In the FFPC, I just happened to get Javonte in the 9th round, just like you were saying. And I think a lot of times these rookies early in the season get hyped because that's what you see in April. You see the rookies in April being drafted. So they get hyped. That is what your guys on the radio are talking about. But what happens is people forget that fantasy is fantasy. The NFL is a business. And, especially for a young running back coming into the NFL, if you can't pass protect, your ass ain't getting on the field. And it's that simple. So I think we have to start putting that stuff in perspective, and we got to temper that a little bit and not hype these rookies up so much coming into a season. Because, we're week 12, and, you can probably count on one hand right now the offensive rookies that are making an impact in the NFL. You got to temper it, and you got to stop jumping on that hype train because it's way overrated.
While we were talking about guys that you have to have moving forward and hyping up those guys, let me tell you one that burned me in a couple of leagues this year because I bought into hype from a lot of different sources. And it's the worst draft pick maybe I've ever made in any league ever. Caleb Johnson, it maybe is the biggest disappointment for me because I took him, probably 6th round in a couple of leagues, thinking he's going to end up being a guy. He's consistent. He's hard-nosed. That's what Mike Tomlin likes, except Aaron Rodgers doesn't. And Aaron Rodgers is kind of calling the shots there. And, I held on to him as long as I could. It was one of those, just my pride was not letting me let him go. And eventually I've dropped him because I'm not going to, you swallow your pride and you say, I'm going to try to make my team better because this guy's clearly not ever going to play.
Yeah, completely agree.
Any guys like that for you too, Dr. Harwood? Anybody that just absolutely burns you this year, whether it be for injury or buying?
Calvin really was one of them. I didn't have him a lot of places. It's more of a disappointment and everything. It just, was Brennan back. Brian Thomas, I think, was a disappointment too.
Yeah.
Because I had more shares of him than I probably should have. And, for the running back position, go back to the Titans again, Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. And
I was big on Tony Pollard going into the year. I just felt like he had produced and would continue to. But honestly, and I know you're a Titan fan, Dr. Harwood, they just have been a disappointment all around.
Yes, they have.
They haven't had a lot. Really, there's been no fantasy value on that team. And I can't remember a time, and I'm sure there have been, where there was a team that I wanted less shares of than this year than I have the Titans. I liked Tony Pollard, but he's been a disappointment. Cam Ward got drafted because everybody wants to get in on the next quarterback. He's been disappointing, and I don't think that's all his fault. I think some of that is circumstance. Ridley, maybe your best fantasy value has been A. Maynor.
Brandon Murchison, Woo Fancy. He called him, back in the summer. Matt Krantz called him too.
Yeah, but he's still not somebody I'd play every week, but he is somebody who, you could potentially plug in on one of these bye weeks. Mm-hmm. Chuck, anybody like that for you that just has absolutely stung you this year?
Oh, for me, it was definitely, like Mr. Harwood said, Brian Thomas Jr. stung me. Tyreek Hill stung me due to injury. I think I think if not for that injury, I think Tyreek would have had a very solid year. And then, of course, Mr. A.J. Brown. Those guys have hurt me pretty bad this year.
Well, that's the Brian Thomas situation is going to spark a debate between myself and the good doctor tonight, because we're on opposite sides of the fence. And we'll get to that after the break. Also, the other thing that we're going to get to after the break here is our serious talk from our good friend Chuck here. We're going to take a break. We're going to hear from our sponsor, Trophy Smack. You are watching the Fantasy Football Power Hour presented by the SBFFC on the TN2M network of shows here on YouTube. Be back in a minute after a word from our sponsors. That was Trophy Smack. Check them out, trophysmack.com, for all of your fantasy championship needs. Doesn't have to be football, but it certainly is the season for that. Baseball, basketball, whatever your fantasy championship needs are for your leagues, Trophy Smack is the place to go. They have trophies, belts, they've got chains, pendants, helmets, whatever you need, they have got it. Even Dr. Harwood back massages. I don't know if you would need that for your fantasy championship, but hey, it's certainly available there on trophysmack.com. I kid there, of course. But it is time right now. My mic got real hot there. Apologize to anybody watching. It's time for maybe my most anticipated segment on the show tonight. It is our serious talk. Chuck, what's on your mind tonight, buddy?
All right, guys. I have a two-parter tonight. I've been hearing this a lot all year. I got to get this off my chest. The NFL is not rigged. And if it was rigged, it's not rigged. And that is not the reason your fantasy team is losing. Like I tell my guys bowling that throw a bad ball, throw a better ball, draft a better team. If the NFL, in fact, was rigged, I can assure you they're not rigged to cause your fantasy team to lose. Regardless, those players are still playing a game. So even if the NFL is rigged, it's not going to affect your fantasy game at all. That game is still played and you still get points. They're not watching your score. The NFL could care less about your score. So can we stop saying that, please, and let that slide? It doesn't matter anymore. That's getting very old. Draft a better team.
Wait, so you're telling me that my team that is almost winless in the Friday Night League, that the NFL is not rigging it so that Joe Burrow gets hurt, that Jamar Chase is suspended, Brock Bowers got hurt? You mean that that's not the NFL?
Yeah. No, sir. It's not the NFL. That is called
bad luck for me.
It is what it is. Bad luck.
And a terrible pick in Caleb Johnson. I will be self-deprecating with that. So NFL's not rigged. What's the second part of what's on mind tonight?
So, guys, the second part that's on my mind is the big C. And it's not the C you're thinking about. It's the dirty word in fantasy football called collusion. There is no place, and let me repeat this to everybody listening. There is no place in fantasy football for collusion. If that's what you want to do, go find something else to do. It jeopardizes the integrity of the fantasy league. There's no place for it, and you're not hurting anybody in the long run but yourself, because we don't need it. We don't want it. If that's what you want to do, hit the road. Go find something else to do. You won't be in my league ever if you're doing collusion. And that is all I got to say about that, guys.
You know, with collusion, I'm always surprised because, and I'm sure it happens and people get away with it. Otherwise, people wouldn't do it. And I guess there's always the old modicum. You're not If you're not cheating, you're not trying. But here's the thing. Just like anything else, it's a gamble. And you understand going in, I might not win. Like I've had years that I had awful teams. I've had years I had great teams. And I'm just a man of integrity in the sense that I don't think I would feel right about myself, and I certainly wouldn't be proud if I won a championship because of some sort of underhanded tactic that I took. And that's why there are protections in place for these things. And let me tell you, you go to Vegas and try to collude in anything, and I'm not even talking fantasy. I'm just saying, if you don't know how to count cards, you won't be in Vegas long, and you might not have your shirt by the time they kick you out of town. And let me assure you, they will kick you out of town for that. I just don't understand it. And I don't understand people that get caught doing it, denying it. I teach middle school kids, okay? And the things that I hear when people have these sorts of things that come up are the same types of things my 13 and 14-year-old students say. I can watch them doing something and say, I saw you do that. Why did you do that? I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do it. What me? But I saw you with my eyes. My favorite thing that I say to them is, are you telling me I didn't see what I saw with my own eyes? And they just look at me. And it feels like that's what happens when people get caught trying to do something like that. Well, I didn't do it. Yeah. Everybody in Sing Sing's innocent. Ain't nobody on death row ever did it. Despite the fact we have proof otherwise. Dr. Harwood, it just doesn't feel like there's a place for this.
Well, I mean, you have to remember that like sometimes a fantasy league is a fantasy league with 12 owners, but then you have a tournament of 48 teams or 84 teams, or even the SBFFC with 276 teams. I mean, you could possibly, a person that's in collusion in a tournament not only would affect the 12-team league that person's in, but would affect the whole entire tournament, perhaps, because not every division has opportunities for them because of the division makeups of the different teams and the different personalities, different free agent budgets, and things of that nature. The situation I encountered, and I'm not too much for gentlemen to mention names right now, because I still have respect.
You can be vague if you need to.
We
you want to address it.
Let's call the guy. Let's call him Fred and Esther. Okay, we'll call him Fred and Esther. And Fred's team was 2-9, and Esther's team was 7-4. Esther's team also has $1,000 of waiver free agent budget as well. So I was going to share this story with you. I've talked to several people about this, and they all seem to mostly agree. At 1:58 a.m. Central Time on Sunday morning, before the Sunday games start, Fred drops Bryce Young from his roster and does not pick anyone else up. My fantasy, like I've had two other instances this year of a mistaken player that was dropped. And both of them, I did with CD Lamb. It was in a Derby City League and the Superflex too. I thought for a minute this was a mistaken drop. But now turning on, I told the truth, because you don't need to drop a player and not to get someone else up if you have the roster space at a time where the FA periods have passed, both of them. So this guy was like, well, Bryce Young's drop a player, wasn't going to use him. And I was going to pick someone else up, but it was 2 a.m. I was getting sleepy. I was going to come back and add somebody in the morning, but he never did. He also went on to say that the Superflex League had a limit of 3 quarterbacks. Yes, but for the draft only. And then there was 4, maybe 5 weeks that he had 4 quarterbacks on his roster. And Fred was telling me, well, I didn't know the rule. I didn't know the rule. He had 4 quarterbacks. Well, but it's
we don't just discover the rule 11 or 12 weeks into the season.
Right.
True. And there was another owner, we're going to call him Rod, and texted me Tuesday night about 11 p.m. Woke me up, didn't sleep good the rest of the night. And I said that Fred and Esther are husband and wife or boyfriend, girlfriend, or lovers or whatever you want to call them.
There's a relationship of some sort there.
There is a relationship of some sort, yes. And so I woke up the next morning, I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, well, why in the world is he dropping Bryce Young and didn't get anyone else back? And he could have kept Bryce Young, could have enjoyed the fruits of his labor, with some points. His other quarterbacks were Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers. So, and then the team I'm wondering, why in the world would you keep $1,000 of your fab bid money and not get any free agents during the season until now, and you've got FAB money? I mean, he might as well would have dropped Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that seems less suspicious when you're in a situation like this. Like, if you drop Lamar Jackson, everybody knows something's going on. You drop Bryce Young, maybe people don't necessarily question it. Although he had just come off one of the best performances of his career.
Yes, and I never accused any of those two individuals of collusion. I said, well, this is a mistaken move. I'm putting him back on his team. But then I get a phone call from Fred that says, no, he's a droppable player. I don't want him on my roster anymore. I said, okay, well, who do you want to pick up besides him? Why did you pick him up? Well, I was asleep, and I wanted to go to sleep. I didn't want to pick anybody else in the morning. And he didn't pick anybody else in the morning.
I don't know that I've ever dropped somebody and just said, you know what? It's 2 a.m. I'll just pick somebody up in the morning. Like, generally, I handle my business all at once.
And this was after the 2 free agent waiver periods as well. So he could have added somebody just like that.
Yeah.
So days had passed, and was he in a coma? Is that what has happened to Fred? Was Fred in a coma that he couldn't pick up a player?
But usually, when I'll drop a player, I usually pick someone else up if it's in the straight free agent period. Now, it could be a situation, and I'm gonna go deep here. I'm gonna go deep.
Lay it on us, Doc.
Okay. Both Fred and Esther, they're 4-7 in the main event. Neither team's going to the playoffs. Fantasy Friday Night Drift, I don't think either team's going to make the playoffs there either. I think it came time that Esther was like, look, I need some Christmas money. You're going to drop this guy, Bryce Young, so I can get him. I'll wear the pants in the family. You're going to do this. Okay. So sometimes your wife can be demanding. I mean, I've had wives can be demanding of their spouses at times.
They can, yes.
And
why wives isn't allowed to play fantasy football.
Okay. That's probably a smart idea.
I don't want to be the center of a controversy, or at least not for that. I'm usually the center of some controversy, just not that one.
Because wives don't think before they act sometimes. And for Esther to get all bent out of shape because of a drop that I had reinstated back to the team. Now, this guy said there's no rule that states that, well, you can't drop a player from my team. There's no rule states that. There is a rule that states the SBFFC and deems, it's under the rules page, that it deems if a player needs to be removed from the free agent pool due to possible, the competitive balance integrity of the league.
Suspicious activity, correct.
Okay. Well, okay. So here's the rule I've got. Now, this is not on that Superflex league.
But it all falls under the same umbrella.
Well, it's the same. I mean, it's the same sponsored league, and just basically, just conduct in general play. And under the free agent rules of the SBFFC, it says, quote, on sbffc.com/free agents, on occasion, the SBFFC commissioners may remove their draft player from the free agent pool if the commissioners think it is the best interest of upholding the integrity of the division or the entire SBFFC contest.
I mean, that's pretty clear to me. I like to call this the Gronk rule for the SBFFC. This is before Chuck. I think this is before you came and played in the SBFFC leagues. There was one year, and it was probably 10 years ago, and there was a guy, and he was out of the playoff running. Like he wasn't any good, and he has Gronk. This is when Gronk was Gronk, and drops him. And I think Dr. Harwood asked him, why did you do that? And he said, well, I wasn't in it. I just figured somebody else could pick him up and they could help their team.
That's all nice of him.
Yeah. And I don't think it was for any specific person. I think they were just like, I just want to help somebody else win because I'm not going to. And Gronk, it might have been in my division because I remember seeing Gronk frozen. But basically, Dr. Harwood dropped him and locked him up for the whole season, so nobody in that division had Gronk anymore. But, I mean, it's things like that happen that sort of prompt rules like that to exist. Although the first or the Gronk example, I don't think was collusion as much as it was just not understanding integrity of fantasy football.
Yep.
Or
one to be an asshole.
Right. The first example is 100% collusion. I don't think there's any way that you can I don't think there's any way around that. Hey, drop this quarterback so I can pick him up because I've got more free agency money than anybody because I haven't spent any. Yep. And I don't know. That just they something off in Chinatown.
Yeah, and there's no place for it. There really isn't. And then you get caught, and then you still deny it, and it's just there's no place for it. Just move on. Find something else to do. Move on.
Esther came back and said, well, I don't want you to reverse it. We're not coming back regardless. This is ridiculous. Well, so that was a childish way of handling it.
Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.
There was but then you got to worry about this too. You got to worry about potential sponsors. What will they think about this?
If you allow something like that to happen in the league, people that you lose people because you allowed it to happen.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
agreed. It doesn't matter whose feelings you hurt. If it is detrimental to your league's integrity, it's a no-go. The league is bigger than anybody in the league. You have got to protect the integrity of the league.
And one way you can do that is to have an awesome trophy. And we're going to take a break to hear a word from our sponsors at Trophy Smack because we're a little late on our break and we've got to pay some love to them. We will continue this conversation. We got some Stardom Sim questions and some trade questions. I didn't know trades were still around this late into the year, but we got a couple of those as well. We'll take a break. We'll be back here. You are watching the Fantasy Football Power Hour presented by the SBFFC on the TN2M network of shows. We'll be back in a minute after a word from Trophy Smack. That was Trophy Smack. Give them a look. Check them out, trophysmack.com, for all of your fantasy championship needs, whether it's a trophy, a belt, a helmet, a chain, a pendant, whatever you need, they've got it at trophysmack.com. Do we want to continue the conversation or do we want to move on, gentlemen?
I've got one more thing to say.
Absolutely.
And before I do that, I want to make sure I don't forget this. Trophysmack.com, they're going to have a lot of Black Friday sales starting now and then next week. I looked on their website today, and you can order a 13-inch trophy with your customized logo on it. So, like, I can order, that's $199, but I can get 20% off. I could potentially get a trophy with the SBFFC logo on it, and I'm really thinking about buying one. and he'll will be really be good for it. And then they also have like the SBFFC champion flags. I'm thinking about changing things up on the Trophy Smacks next year. I'm also contemplating maybe getting the custom acrylic fantasy football trophy to replace the silver trophies we have now. I mean, they're silver. They're not as big, but they still look good on your desk. And but the situation, I mean, I got to thinking. I was telling my buddy Mike Hardy about this today because Mike and Pam Hardy, they're in the SBFFC, and then to my knowledge, every boyfriend, girlfriend, or every wife and husband, they're either in different divisions or they're co-owners.
Yeah, I think that's correct. And Fred insisted on being in the same division for the reason, I want to talk smack to Esther all year. And are they doing this collusion in other leagues? And they run leagues, and that's what surprises me. Maybe we know why they're winning leagues now.
Well, no, they're running leagues.
Oh, running leagues. I thought you said winning leagues.
I don't know, but my decisions, I'm gonna have to next year put, if both those individuals want to return, they won't have to be in separate divisions. And
I don't even think that's a question.
And I'm gonna have to write that in the bylaws. Have to type it up. I have to.
Husbands and wives can't be in the same division.
I'm not sure, co-owner. But why? Here's my serious take. If I was a husband and wife, I'd want to be in two divisions to get double the chance to win your money.
I agree.
ROI, return on investment. I think I'm gonna get a stripper or a hooker or escort next year to be in the SBFFC with me, and I'm gonna love on her and everything, and I'm gonna buy her team. I'm gonna have like two chances. You like to buy her
more than her team, Dr. Harwood.
I mean, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm gonna stay. I'm not gonna pursue I'm not gonna bug me more about it. Just that I think they handled it in a childish way, and I handled it in a way where I did not accuse them of collusion. They brought it up first. Just like Seth and we get after a kid that does something wrong, misbehaves. Oh, I didn't do it. Get all defensive.
Yeah, they never do it. Everybody's just like everybody on death row is innocent. Well, gentlemen, we're gonna move forward. I'm gonna throw up some of these comments. We got a couple of trade questions. We'll get to our fan ball segment and anything else that pops up in the last 12 minutes of the show. SD Real says NFL teams have so many injuries, it's hard to find a healthy fantasy team week to week. Don't I know it?
You ain't never lied.
No, that's I mean, it's every week somebody's going down.
Yeah.
The thing that has upset me is that some of these scratches or some of these inactives have come pretty late in the game, and like morning of 11 o'clock that they're inactive when the game's in an hour. That cost me a championship last year. Like, I was probably going to win the Friday Night League last year, and I didn't see an inactive, and that hurt me. Here's a trade question from Galaxy Pickers. Well, so you traded Dunze and Jenkins for Saquon and Shaheed. I think you do that trade because I think you look at the best player in that trade at Saquon. If you're getting Saquon, yes, I think you're getting more consistency out of Saquon than both the Dunze and Judkins. Guys, what do you think?
I agree. Best player in that trade is Barkley.
Yes, I would agree with that as well. I'm
shocked that you could still make a trade right now, but I guess there are some that are.
Well, it might be Fred and Esther, maybe.
It could be Fred and Esther. Maybe they're making the trade with each other. Maybe Galaxy Pickers really is Esther. I don't know.
Well, but
Galaxy Pickers, you've been inserted into some drama.
So Esther may have been like, Fred, you're going to drop this guy because I need to win $225 for Christmas.
That's right. Listen, every little bit helps. Times is tough.
And wives, when they take that dominance of the husbands, they bring the husbands down to their knees, and then there's no stopping the wife. That's why friends of mine are paying child support. That's why they're paying alimony.
Listen, I'm I do what I'm told. I'm happy wife, happy life.
That's why Fred dropped him.
It probably is. SD Real says Jane Daniels. I feel like I wasted a first round pick on him. That he's been a disappointment as well.
Shoot, that whole team has been a disappointment.
All right. Fighting solves everything. It doesn't it indeed. It says my running back room is CMC, JT, Judkins, T. Hinda, Woody Marks, Monty. Good Lord. Is this a 5-team league?
Yeah, I was thinking, is this a 6-team league?
I just traded Woody for Bucky. What are your thoughts? I mean, with a running back room like that, I think you can afford to give up Woody Marks. And if Bucky does come back and he is anything like he was coming into the season, I think you win that trade.
Well,
yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not convinced that Nick Chubb doesn't still have life in him, that they don't just 1 week decide, yeah, we're going to give Nick Chubb another shot, because they just seem inconsistent there right now. At least that feels inconsistent.
He just got probably drafted JT or CMC first. He probably drafted JT or CMC second round. Probably got Travion Henderson probably round 6. Probably got Junkins like round 9 or 10. Woody Marks, he might have been a free agent pickup.
He probably a pickup.
Might have been around after round 10 or 12. Brian Robinson Jr., at the time he wasn't CMC's backup unless he was in a late draft league. I like Woody Marks better than I do Bucky Irvin right now, because you've got Sean Tucker, Rashard White. And Woody Marks, he won me a prop last night of the longest rush over 13.5 yards. He got that in the first quarter. But the thing that I also say that Tampa Buccaneers also have a good schedule coming down the road too. Bucky might come back next week. CMC is off week 14.
Well, I
Maybe
also
this makes sense.
For me, you're trading a guy that I don't know is a definitive starter in Woody Marks. Maybe he ends up being that. I just don't know that yet. I think somebody in that coaching staff likes Nick Chubb, because every time it feels like Woody Marks has the backfield, they put Nick Chubb back in, and he ends up getting more carries and more of the snap share. And the last 2 weeks it's been Woody. But I'm just telling you, I don't know that I'm convinced that Nick Chubb is gone yet. I think if Bucky comes back, I think they want Bucky to be the guy. Got another one. We do have a stardom sit-em question here. Chase Brown or Travion Henderson PPR? To me, this isn't even a question. I think right now it's Travion Henderson. He is hot. He is on a better team. And Ramondre Stevenson, I think, is back this week, but I think Henderson has shown what he can do, and I think you play Henderson here.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead, Chuck.
I was going to say, if you play in the matchup, the Browns defense is really, really bad. So I go Henderson here against the Browns, even though Chase Brown has been getting hot the last few weeks. But I agree with Seth. Henderson's hot, and Cincinnati's defense is garbage. So I would go with Henderson here.
I'm going to go the other way, gentlemen. I've got Chase Brown ranked 6th in my rankings this week. And against New England, I've got Travion Henderson 10th. So if I were to start just one of them, it would be Chase Brown, even though Travion Henderson's been hot. And I can understand why you'd want to play the hot hand. I really, really do. But Chase Brown is at home. You're without Jamar Chase, who likes to go around and spit at people and
deny it.
And deny it. I mean,
it's like middle schoolers.
Fred and Esther own a restaurant, and I ate a pork shoulder. I spit after eating the shoulder. But if they get Burrow back, are they going to throw him to the Lions here, or are they going to be a situation where they're going to depend more on Chase Brown and then gradually get Burrow back in the game?
I just don't think if you don't have Chase that you can bring Burrow back this week. I really don't. I mean, Vegas seems to think that all signs are pointing to that. But if Chase weren't suspended, I might say, yeah, this is the game. But next week is Thursday night, and I think that's what they're targeting.
Well, okay, the Patriots and the Bengals, they're actually playing head to head. That's ironic. He would ask a running back that would kind of play head to head. they've got the rush yards over and under. I go to rush yards first. Chase Brown, 55.5 over under. Trevion Henderson, 52.5. Rush attempts over under. Chase Brown, 15.5. Trevion Henderson, 11.5. That's why I've got Chase Brown ranked above in the rankings, because I've got more rush attempts out of Chase Brown. Let's go deeper. Rush receiving yards. Chase Brown is 9.5. And Trevion Henderson did not have a prop on rush and receiving for whatever reason here. I just don't see one on my DraftKings page. But I go back here, Trevion Henderson is not even on the chart. So I'm giving the edge to Chase Brown, unless, who does your opponent have? Do they have Drake May in line? Do they got Joe Flacco? Do they have T. Higgins? That's something else you got to consider. See who your opponent has, and then try to win up that opponent.
Fighting Solves Everything has chimed in and said that he's given his receivers, but said that he's making this trade specifically for the championship game. I think you're in great shape if you can make a trade just for the championship game.
Yes,
but
sir.
He does have really good receivers there.
He had to trade for Puka somehow, because you can't get Puka in the first, second, third round with CMC and
well, we don't know. We don't know how. I mean, yeah, but he also says that Judkins, Henderson, and Wood were waivers. So I have to think this is a league that doesn't have. Yeah, it can't be a 12-team league, I wouldn't think. If it is, let me play in that league, because if I can get those guys in that order, I'm happy to do it. Mm-hmm. Spartacus, the Marine, says I also have Bauer and Warren. I don't know that I saw the first question from Spartacus.
Yeah,
was that Ric Flair back in '91 when Jim Herd tried to name him Spartacus?
Yeah, he wanted him to be Spartacus.
Yes.
And then he took his belt and went to Stamford, Connecticut.
Yep.
Real quick, guys, as we got about 3 minutes left. DFS, who are some guys that you like this week to get a – we endorse Fanball here. Who are some guys that you like to get yourself a good base for Fanball this week?
Well, I love Drake May this week. I think you light Drake May up everywhere you have him. And then again, another guy I like is Derrick Henry this week.
7,000 for May, and then Henry is 7,100.
And then the way you're able to get those two guys and save a little bit of scratch is we were just talking about Jamar Chase being out, so you go pick yourself up Las Vias for a wide receiver from Cincinnati. I think he is 3,100 this week. And then you put Michael Wilson with him, and you got yourself a good start right there, I believe.
Would you go Emmanuel Wilson at 5,100 if Jacobs does not play?
I would, absolutely.
Yeah, I think you do that if Jacobs doesn't play. I'll give you a couple of mine that I really like this week. I like stacking quarterback and receiver. This week, I really like Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown going against the Giants' porous Swiss cheese grater defense. And I think the way you can do that is a guy that I love this week is Bishal Tootin for Jacksonville at 44. So I think you get Tootin at 4,400, and that saves you some cash and allows you to spend up a little bit and get St. Brown. If you want to go a little bit cheaper, you can go Jameson Williams. The problem with Jameson Williams, though, is that he is, feast or famine. He's going to have a great week. He's going to have 4 catches for 180 yards and a touchdown, or he's going to have 2 catches for 15 yards. So, but I like the consistency that you get with St. Brown. Goff has been silently very, very good this year. And so that is what I like. Dr. Harwood, who do you like?
Well, I'm going to post this. I'm going to try to figure out how to post this on the 210 network, so owners that are wanting to play in this league want to join.
Just copy the link and post it in the chat.
Let's see. Let me try that real quick. No, that's the YouTube link. But Do you pay up for Trey McBride? 7,000.
Let me look at the other. No, I don't think I spend 7,000 ever for a tight end on.
Yeah,
it's very rare to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But for those that like DFS but may not necessarily know about how I do, Fanball, each week I give away 2 SBFFC entries, the first and second point totals in the in Fanball each week. So you can win your SBFFC team for $20. You're in a 30-man group. Okay. And
you just have to finish top 2.
You got to finish the top 2. And we're going to do a Thanksgiving day fan ball next week, and we're also going to do a Sunday night game. We do, and it is a super flex contest, and it's definitely. And you can't go into this saying, "Well, I wasted my $20. I'm not playing this." You can't go in here. I keep mentioning rate of investment, rate of return, rate of all that. You can't go in this game to profit. You're going in here for one reason only, and that's to win an SBFFC team. If it takes you 10, 15 times to do it, fine. Just that thrill of finishing that first or second. I posted that link. Did y'all get that?
I haven't looked.
I haven't seen it pop up yet.
It popped up on the YouTube page, but we'll get it up there.
Because
I will say,
I want people to play this week.
If I get to 10 times and I haven't won, I'm a little upset because if I just saved my 10 times, I'd have had most of my fee already paid. I tell you what, I don't spend up for Trey McBride for this reason. And then we'll start to wrap it up. There are 2 tight ends I really like this week that are much cheaper, and I think in the fan ball, one of the flex is a wide receiver tight end spot. It's not a running back spot. I really like Dallas Goedert this week. He's at 4,500 against Dallas. I think that's a great play. And I think a sneaky play this week is Hunter Henry at 3,900 versus Cincinnati. Hunter Henry is very capable of scoring a couple of touchdowns this week. I think that's a great play as well. Guys, final thoughts on the show tonight. Chuck, we'll start with you.
Well, like I said, guys, we're coming down the home stretch. Make sure you're setting your lineups, making sure you're getting depth. As Mr. Raniker said early on, it's getting harder and harder to set a lineup. So pay attention. Some of these injuries are coming in late. Like Ken Walker got hurt today. Somebody hit him in the ass too hard. Literally, he's got a glute injury. So that's something to keep an eye on. Just keep setting them and keep the integrity of your leagues intact. And want to give a shout out to our guy, Mr. Howard Bender, who hit a plus 1,800 last night on an anytime touchdown from Ray Davis. Way to go, Mr. Bender.
How much did he play on that?
I'm not sure, but
I mean, even if you played $10, it's a nice profit.
It's a nice profit.
$5 would be a nice profit.
Yeah.
And then also, kudos to Anamonis. He's 29 in his last 29 NFL prop plays, and he's a big contributor to FantasyLife.com. So we have a good relationship there, and I think if you're out of your fantasy league contention, all is not lost. Jump in a fan ball, jump in a DFS game, try to win your SBFFC team. If you're in the bottom 5 to 10% of your SBFFC overall standings in the leaderboard, I want to reach out to you, see if you want to play, and this week, and that's all it takes. And then bam, you got your free team, and then boom, you're in. And also play some prop bets too. Get some action, build that bankroll for next year, get ahead of the competition. Make some Christmas money.
Yeah, and on top of that, play spoiler if you can. Try to knock somebody out of the playoffs. But also, SBFFC formats, you've got consolation bracket and the toilet bowl, which also will that gets you a free SBFFC team too, correct?
That's exactly right.
So you've still got stuff to play for. That's going to do it for us tonight. We ran a little bit over, but sometimes the conversation warrants that.
Monday Nitro.
Yeah, that's right. It's Monday Nitro. We're staying on past Raw or whatever other fantasy shows right now. That's going to do it for us. Next week, we'll be back. Are we doing a Friday night next week, or are we doing it earlier? I don't know. We'll talk.
I'd say go ahead and go with business as usual.
Okay.
First round of the playoffs, man.
Well, I was going to say there's 3 Thanksgiving games, so I didn't know if we wanted to try to do it on a Wednesday night, maybe. But
I'm okay with a Wednesday night too. I mean, that's a good idea.
Stay tuned for that, and turn your notifications on for TN2M. Also, Dr. Harwood's blast emails will, I don't know what they're called exactly, but I'm sure he will be promoting it as well. That's going to do it for us tonight. For Chuck, for the good Dr. Brian Harwood, I am the Phoenix Rocket, Seth Burchett, and you've been watching the Fantasy Football Power Hour presented by the SBFFC on the TN2M network of shows. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned. Next week, we'll be back with another hour of the best fantasy football talk on YouTube, or at least we think so.
Just like Bob
next week, guys.
Just like Bob Cottle said, so long for now.